Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Force Chatter. This is episode number 5. We have some stuff tonight. So we will
saying we have something is really stretching it.
It's something of something.
Something of something.
Partial.
It's like the equivalent to the amount of water that Finn was able to find on Jakku.
And about the quality too.
Trough, he was going hog wild in that trough.
That's true. I guess that was a question of quality, not quantity.
Yeah,
it was definitely a quality.
But it still applies.
Right? But he kept drinking after he saw what was drinking with him. So, yeah. Oh boy! So we got the regular crew here tonight. We have Eric, we have Tom, and we have Tim. Eric, how are you tonight?
I'm doing okay. I'm starting to slowly get used to this Monday through Friday.
That's right. Thing. You're on days now, like normal.
Like normal. People. Yeah. I slept in a little bit less today and yesterday. But this last week, though, it was like boot camp level, like software, SQL database auditing level of intense training. So like my brain was just like melting and oozing out my ears. It was... Mentally, it was a rough week.
So
but
new job, new training, and trying to get on a different time schedule. That's got to be fun.
Yeah, but you know what? The job is worth it. It's so much better than what I was doing before. I'm really happy with it. There are a couple of things that are going to be hurdles, but like overall measuring 1-to-1, this is far better. And the sleep schedule alone. I mean, I'm not doing 12 hours of jet lag every 3 days.
Yeah.
So, nice. I mean, that's a world of difference. So I'm doing great. Lou, how are you?
I am doing great. I missed last week with you guys. Sorry I couldn't be here, but had some other commitments I had to take care of. But good to be back. Good to be recording.
By the way, I want to point this out. We'll say it again when we start Random Chatter. We had a technical issue with one of the recordings recently. I think it's Random Chatter 321. There's a YouTube video, but there's no audio. And I could not extract the audio from the YouTube video either. So... still working on it, but in the meantime, this is a great reason for you guys to be watching us on YouTube instead.
That's right. Yeah. Video and audio.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, 321 is one I must not have been on that episode because I don't have a recording.
That actually was the episode with just me and Carrie.
No.
Darn it, Carrie.
It was a slow news week anyway. Like I hate to say that you guys didn't miss much, especially when we had a guest on. But
it's a very rare occasion that I ever blame Carrie for anything, but damn it.
And ironically, she was the one who showed up. So
that's right.
She's the one who was not supposed to be blamed for anything.
Oh, well.
I didn't mean
Tom, how are you? I haven't recorded with you in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we rolled from COVID into sick kids after COVID.
Awesome.
I also started a new job 2 weeks ago. It's been 2 weeks Friday.
Yeah.
So it's been a heck of a 2021 so far, but
congratulations. You started a new job on a Friday?
On a Monday.
Oh, okay.
So, well, yeah, two full, I should say Friday was the second full work week that I finished.
Okay.
So yeah, but it was good. It's all remote, but I was down in DC, which is only the second time I've left the state.
You should have told me. I could have come down and seen you, except that whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
I guess I couldn't. I could have waved at you from a distance.
Yeah.
Hi, Tom. Yeah, there you go.
But actually, you wouldn't have been completely sure if it was him because he was wearing a mask. So
this is true.
And he would have said, "Who's that weirdo wearing a mask waving at me?"
I don't know you.
Yeah.
I might have said that even if I did recognize
I know.
who it was.
It's not the mask. It's
yeah.
It's
who's that weirdo?
You.
That's all you have to say.
Yeah. Well.
And finally we have Tim. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing well. Lou. I'm here. And
it's half the battle.
It was a hectic week for me last week and a fairly restful, refreshing kind of weekend. So I'm good. Life is good.
Good. Weekends are good to recharge and get ready for all the news we have to cover here on a Sunday night. So,
and I'm sure we must have a lot of news.
Let's get right to it. So, thanks for joining us tonight. It was a good time talking to you guys tonight, and we'll come at you guys again next week.
Lou?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
You forgot the news.
There wasn't really much to cover.
No, but I think you missed all of it. because I don't remember talking about any of it.
Okay, I want to do one.
I just have like a
brain
thing.
Okay, ready? Bad Batch is coming to Disney Plus on May 4th.
Woohoo!
The end.
That's news.
The end.
There we go. Okay, now we're done.
Moving on. Like, there's nothing to discuss. I mean, there is a discussion point in here that I think Tim threw in.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about grasping at straws, though. I mean,
yeah.
In terms of Bad Batch, though, I got to say, I did not expect it this early.
I wasn't expecting it until late summer, early fall, like aligning it with the fall TV series.
Yeah, because it's animated, it's not entirely a surprise. Because the level of production, it's not going to be as hampered by COVID, because a lot of it can be done remotely.
Right.
And it's also like you don't get leaks because there's not people saying, "Ooh, there's a set built and there's buildings, and if you look at it from this angle, it looks like this planet." And it's animated. You don't get any of that, so you don't get the leaks either. So it kind of flew under the radar. But yeah, I mean, unexpected, but not entirely shocking or anything. And it's nice that we're getting this because we've got the Marvel stuff kind of staggered out throughout this year, and we didn't really hear anything for 2021 about Star Wars until pretty much Christmas. So at least this is something mid-year that we're going to get for Star Wars. So that's nice. I'm glad they're doing this.
Yeah, do we know how many episodes?
May the 4th.
We don't know how many episodes. Yeah, and May the 4th. I mean, that's a cool thing to have happen for Star Wars Day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm excited. It's the Disney stuff that they've been doing, for both Star Wars and for Marvel has been fantastic. So, keep rolling stuff out, and we'll keep watching it.
Don't suck.
Yeah, right now all they list on IMDb is 2 episodes.
It's gonna be a short season.
That's all they have up right now.
I would be surprised if it's longer than The Mandalorian, but something to the tune of a shorter first season, kind of like Clone Wars and Rebels had. And I'm trying to think if Resistance was a little short too in its first season.
I mean, compared to Clone Wars and Rebels, it wasn't like a full 20, 22 episodes.
22. Yeah, they were I think Rebels was 13 or 15, somewhere in that neighborhood. So
Resistance was like that or less.
Yeah, I'll be ecstatic. Even 15. I mean, the prospect of, 15 weeks and maybe a little bit less if they're stacking stuff up, with 2 episodes, for a particular week. That's awesome. I really miss our watch-alongs with The Mandalorian. I miss having something to look forward to, non-Marvel, because I do enjoy waiting on WandaVision, but nothing's like new Star Wars.
Star Wars is nice too. Just saying.
It's certainly good to mix it up. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And they Hasbro also has started putting out some Bad Batch 6-inch Black Series figures, kind of along with this. So you can go pre-order that announcement.
They're online. You can go pre-order them and get those coming when they get released. Right?
They'll never show up.
No, you can't. Nope, you can't. You can't do that. No.
Things are just
Lou. When they release action figures, that means you can't get them.
They're not for you, Lou.
True.
I know. I mean, I don't know how you get these things. I mean, the pre-orders sell out so fast.
You got to read the fine print, Lou.
I pre-ordered the Dark Ray figure back in September from Walmart. I got the email last week saying, "I'm sorry, we had to cancel your order."
Yeah, same with me.
Down below, it clearly says ages 4 and up. All trademarks are owned by Lucasfilm, not for Lou.
Yeah.
Right at the bottom of
that last line. I missed that last line.
You got to look at the fine print on the box, Lou.
Damn it.
You do have that 3D printer. You can make some bootleg.
Make
my own. Yeah.
and it's crazy because, on Twitter and such, I saw that some people did get their Dark Ray. But yeah, it's I don't understand why and it would be one thing if they said, hey, we know it's been a while, but it's going to be another 2 or 3 months.
Right.
Okay. But they just canceled your orders. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Every pre-order I had pending for Walmart, which is like 3, all of them got canceled within the span of 6 weeks or something.
I got a couple things from Walmart that had pre-ordered and came, but
listen, the problem is, I mean, Hasbro used to be so good at this. And I think I kind of feel like I mean, things kind of went downhill with the collector's market after the prequels. It had nothing to do with the prequels themselves. It had to do with the fact that they dumped like 400 different Jar Jar variations onto the market.
Mm-hmm. Hey.
And just saying.
That's called support.
And then
that's
everybody
that
bought them up.
Demand.
And Tim was the only person who liked Jar Jar. And Tim didn't have enough money to buy every single copy of every single so they were like, it's back to the Mayor Zuvio or Counselor Zuvio, whatever his name was.
Constable.
Whatever. Yeah, the big guy Zuvio, whatever it is. They're everywhere, or they were. And so nobody was restocking the shelves. So things just went downhill. And then Toys R Us disappeared. Hasbro needs to figure out how to fix this because it's broken. It is uselessly broken. I want to give you money, Hasbro. Make it so I can give you money. How hard a business situation is this to figure out? Like, make it so that I can give you money. If you have to handle the online sales yourself, like Lego does, if you...
but they do that, and they don't do a good job of that either.
Then fix that. Yeah. Sell them through Lego, for crying out loud. Like, figure out something.
They're missing the point of pre-order.
Basically, that too.
What they're really doing, and they're not telling us the number, but they're saying, yeah, okay, we're going to make 2,700 of these. Let's list it for pre-order, and then when they sell out, they sell out. That's not really a pre-order. That's
no.
They already have a fixed number. The whole concept of a pre-order is let the orders come in. That's then going to determine the demand, and then we're going to make
you increase the supply
X number.
Yeah. I mean, every vendor I deal with at work, when there's a order, you order before the season comes because you don't want to start ordering in the middle of the season when you need to have the stuff like now. Mm-hmm. So the vendors take the orders from all the dealers, and then they say, okay, we need to make X number, and they add a percentage to it, so they have a little bit of extra stock in case dealers want more during the season, and they build them. I mean, it's a pretty easy concept, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. So do we have any other news, or are we just going to discussion topics now?
Well, real quick, Tim, did you throw this in about IMDB?
Yes.
Okay, what is this? Just real quick. I know we've got to let Tom go pretty soon, but
yeah.
What's the story?
So IMDB actually lists George Lucas as a writer for 2 of the episodes of Andor.
Interesting.
Well, I saw about that the other day. Yeah, I saw a rumor that he was doing that, but now it's in IMDb.
IMDb is, I would give IMDb 95% accuracy.
I mean, they're not Wikipedia, right? You can't just go in, and not just anybody off the street can go in and edit something. I don't mean that as an insult, but I mean, really.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
It's not quite that level of just anybody goes in and edits stuff.
Right. Yeah. The number of people that can edit things on IMDb, I mean, it's not impossible, but it's reasonably limited.
Right.
And I have also seen that if something does get put on there erroneously, that studios will correct it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not perfect. We don't expect it to be, but it's decent.
Right. And so this has been up for a while. This has been up for several days. What do you guys think about Lucas coming back and writing Star Wars?
Great.
I think it's awesome. To start with, but like period, and full stop. But it's really fascinating to me that he has presumably had some opportunity to dip his hat in the ring. I cannot imagine outside of the feature films if he came along and said, "Hey, would you let me write an episode of The Mandalorian?" Like, what's Jon Favreau and Filoni going to do? Say no? But this is the opportunity he's taken. Yeah. And it fascinates me. I'm a huge Rogue One fan. I would say, other than maybe Empire and Jedi, it's my favorite Star Wars movie. And the continuation of that feel and sort of the things that were hit upon in that movie in Andor is going to be awesome. And the chance to see Lucas's version of a little bit of that story, I think, is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that, I'm always on board for George Lucas creating Star Wars content. I would prefer he delegate the directing to someone else. Mm-hmm. Come up with the concepts, come up with the story, and even do the editing. I'm good with all of that. I just would like him to ask someone else to direct. And now he doesn't need to because it's not his baby anymore. But I have always been on board with George Lucas doing anything except maybe just that one little piece, just the directing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
He's a good producer. He's a good writer. He's a good editor. I mean, he did have some dialogue issues, but through the years, the dialogue issues in his writing got better.
Well, regardless.
So, I think it would be good. And I think I think it's nice. It's probably just as enjoyable for him to come back and kind of have his hands a little bit in Star Wars as it is for us as fans of his and of Star Wars to have him involved again.
Yeah.
And it's only 2 episodes. It's nothing extensive. So, you have people who are probably, maybe hating on George for some reason. I don't know why. He's not taking anything over. It's not like he's back. He's not back. He's going to come hang out.
I think all of the hate has moved on. It's all now either about the yes or no side of Gina Carano, and it's all about the prequels and, do you want
and Ryan Johnson? Do
you want to execute Kathleen Kennedy or not? Like, I don't think there's any current controversy about George at this point. We've moved so far past that.
Yeah, he's been far removed.
That has now become like, Thanksgiving dinner, the corn is touching the mashed potatoes. Do you not eat that part or do you eat that part? I mean, it doesn't really matter in the end. Like, that is the level of significance of any George Lucas controversy in comparison to this whole great big dichotomous chasm and rift within the fan community.
Yeah.
It's funny that you've seen it come full circle in terms of, I would wager to guess that some of the loudest complainers about the, Ryan Johnsons and Kathleen Kennedys of the Star Wars universe were beating that same drum with Lucas through the 2000s, only to suddenly have this epiphany that he is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and suddenly there's a new enemy. And he's sort of put on a pedestal.
Yeah, it's out of the frying pan into the fire thing.
I mean, I don't look forward to the discourse surrounding, all of the things with those 2 episodes. I do look forward to them being among the best Star Wars that we've seen.
Listen, I think it'll be okay. I really don't think there's going to be, unless they suck, like unless there's something about them is just like horribly distracting from the rest of the series. I don't think there's going to be a lot of controversy about it. I think it's going to be okay. You're going to get a couple of people, but like, I just don't think if you're going to have George Lucas involved, this is the way to do it. You have him come in, write a couple episodes, and he's gone. That gives the nostalgia for people who want him there. The people who are happy he's gone, it's not a big interference. It's a win-win.
But Eric, have you seen the ridiculous things that people complain about on Star Wars Twitter?
No, because I spend most of my life filtering out all the ridiculous things people say on Star Wars YouTube.
I mean, there are people on Star Wars Twitter who are equally offended by my hair as they are Tom's.
Tom's hair is in the right spot, Tim.
I do have beard envy, though.
Here's the difference, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the difference. Tom, you could grow a beard. Whereas,
maybe.
See where I'm going with this? We should probably move on to the other topic, though, because I know Tom needs to chime in on this one. Though I question why this is in the show notes, Tim, but go ahead.
Come on, Tim, bring us through this, because it is your baby.
Well, not really my baby so much as
the adopted foster kid who wants to return to the foster service as quickly as he can.
It, so
you threw it in here.
I was much more interested in bringing up, the big crossover of Jar Jar wielding Mjolnir.
No.
But anyway, so Daisy Ridley, recently she's being interviewed for the April issue of Empire Magazine. She was asked if she would be interested in revisiting the Rey character. And, it's interesting because not too long ago, she basically said, she's like, no, I'm done. I want nothing to do with Star Wars anymore. Like, that was my run. That was fine. That's cool. I'm done. I'm out. In this interview, she said that, and then she said sure, and then she went back to no. So it was kind of like a ping pong match that she was playing on her own. But she said she's probably finished for now, but never say never. She did mention Luke's return in The Mandalorian. She said, I'm always open to a revisit, but also the beautiful thing is, in this wonderful, huge universe with all these stories that are yet to be told, I think there's a lot of cool things to be made before any potential revisit. So it's kind of like she's open to it if they actually dangle the money in front of her, but otherwise she's not like interested in pursuing it. So, which is fine. I mean, basically she doesn't say anything in there, but I think the worthwhile bit of discussion for us is, are you guys interested in seeing a continuation of Rey's story?
I just want to say this real quick. And this is not you, Tim. This is on everybody else reporting on this. This is not news. It is not news. Even within Star Wars, we saw it with Samuel Jackson. We saw it with Liam Neeson. We saw it with Ewan McGregor. If you ask an actor, hey, would you be willing to come back and make gazillions of dollars again for a few weeks? The actor's either going to say no, because I currently have a lawsuit against them for XYZ harassment, or the answer is going to be, well, never say never. Like, it's not it's not news. Of course she's going to say, well, maybe, you never know. She said before that she thought that this was a fitting ending for Rey's story, which it is. And we all know too that if they come back and say, hey, we need you to cameo in season 12 of The Mandalorian, she's also going to say yes, because you're stupid not to. And her experience of making the stuff wasn't bad. It was just the toxic internet afterwards, which isn't going to get any better. So yes, this is this is not news, but I'll get off my soapbox now, because I know we want to discuss, should she come back, but
and I think that we'll never know. Is this is this her legitimate answer, basically in the spirit, Eric, that you mentioned, or is this the dodgy answer of, oh well, no, no, I can't talk about that. But no,
there's no way to know, because regardless of whether it's one or the other, the answer will always be the same.
Right.
Just saying.
I could see. I think what I'll say before I have to hop off, I could see an animated return where she's just, cashing a check and getting in the voice acting booth, being a much more likely next up project than anything live action. I think I'll tell you what I would love to see in what I'm sure will be a post-apocalyptic world of our own, where we're all living in sort of Ready Player One type world, the Oasis. Rey, Daisy Ridley in her 50s or something like that comes back. I'm an old man, like, strapping on my my reality goggles and watching her come back as like the grizzled old, like Luke as a Jedi master or something like that. I think they've got a lot of stories.
It'll be like Logan, but Star Wars.
Exactly. She'll have that. Yeah, you finally start to get to see her slash some bodies with that yellow lightsaber. But yeah, I think she hit the nail on the head. I think there are a lot of stories that are going to be told. There are a lot of directions that the franchise is going to go before they come back to this well. I don't think that this well was lucrative enough, just from a money standpoint, that they're going to come back and tap it immediately. I think they've found. Well,
I think they're also. I think they're also afraid of it too, because this is kind of a poisoned well for them. I mean, the prequels were tough enough on the fan community, but I think these movies brought the prequel people back into the fold. I mean, this was more decisive, more divisive than anything else, because it was just people wanted to complain about something, and they took their vengeance out on these movies. I don't think there's really anything to entice them to bring these back anytime soon. I mean, it was great to have things like Mark Hamill come back and so forth because they were the original creators, of the whole universe, right? So it's good to have a nostalgia thing to put Mark Hamill back in an episode of The Mandalorian and so forth. But going forward with this now, it's like there's really not the same nostalgia for these characters, even though I enjoyed them.
I think
there's not the same level of let's bring them back again.
I think eventually people will warm up to seeing them again. I mean, if you look at the percentage of the fan base who were interested in getting more prequel content, it increased over time.
Yeah.
And I think that we will have people. I mean, I'm interested in seeing more stories in the sequel era. I don't think the era was bad. I think that they messed the movies up, and there were a couple of plot points that, I still don't know what to think about the whole Palpatine thing. And I still think there were ways that they could have written the Snoke resolution a little bit better in episode 9 than they did. But I think the characters are solid. I mean, Rey's a solid character. Finn is a solid character. Yeah. Poe is a solid character. Rose is a solid character. And of those 4, they didn't do much with the last 3, especially the 3rd and 4th of those 4. And I think that there's more to explore there. I just think we need to wait a little bit, and we did need to pass that torch. But I think number one, they didn't really set the expectation for fans that the old guard was getting out of the way for the new guard. There was still too much focus on the fact that the old guard were there, and it implied that they were going to be more heavily involved in the story than they were. And then I think the other thing too is maybe, in hindsight, Lucasfilm should have started with Rogue One and Solo and a Boba Fett film while they were working on continuing the saga, and gotten some of those growing pains of how do we handle production? How do we handle oversight of the films? They made mistakes with Solo too. Mm-hmm. I mean, they doubled the cost of the movie because of firing the directors, basically. Right. And they made mistakes with not having a solid vision for 7, 8, and 9, which they messed up in 8. And I think he actually made worse in 9 as a result. If they'd made those errors earlier on with something other than the saga films themselves, the saga films themselves might have been okay. I think they've learned the lesson now, but now would have been a great time to start the saga films rather than having those be the guinea pigs that you mess up so that you can get your ducks in a row going forward.
Oh yeah, I mean, you hit it right in the head. I think the key thing there was they made mistakes in not planning it out. I mean, we said this before too. I mean, the movies would have been okay if they just had a roadmap and stuck to it.
But make those mistakes with the things that don't matter as much,
right? Yeah,
rather than with this
saga. I think Rey's character is really interesting, and when we look at where she ended up, she is where Luke ended up at the end of Return of the Jedi. And the opportunity that they have here is that aside from now the 6.5 minutes that he appeared in The Mandalorian, we didn't see Luke in that gap between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. Mm-hmm. There's an opportunity here to basically show Rey in that period of time. You have someone who has now come into themselves as a Jedi, whatever way you want to define that. And what does she do with it?
Yeah.
Now, what does she do with it in the universe? And it does not have to be a continuation of the Skywalker saga, because that's done, and I firmly believe it should stay done. There's an opportunity to tell the story of Rey.
Yeah.
Because the sequel trilogy, yes, it was in a way kind of the backstory of Rey, but all right, she's still, what is she, 25? She has a whole lot ahead of her. That is not the entire story of Rey.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying we have to go until she's 89 years old, but she's just getting into her prime. She just discovered all these powers. She's just done some incredible things and destroyed the greatest evil that the universe has ever known. Now what?
Right.
I mean, is she going to go to Starbucks?
Tom,
well,
hold up. I don't mean to interrupt or anything, but Tom's got like 4 minutes before he's got a hard out. So
the last comment, she diplomatically sidestepped. I think the one of the real life points in all of this that has to have a heavy hand in her decision making. She is more so than any of the other cast members, the new cast members from the sequel trilogy, at greatest risk of being typecast. My wife said it the other day. We were rewatching The Last Jedi, and she was like, I will never see Daisy Ridley as anybody other than Rey. It would just be really difficult for me to watch a movie with her and not have Star Wars in my head. John Boyega doesn't face that. Like, I don't watch Pacific Rim and just imagine him as Finn. Certainly right. Oscar Isaac doesn't have that. And you know, the list goes on. But she herself is young, as a real person, and presumably wants to have a diverse film career. And I think we're kidding ourselves if we think she hasn't looked at the original trilogy and looked at the careers of Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher, and said, I don't know if I want to end up exactly like that. Not that Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher didn't have success in different ways, but you can't tell me that they didn't have these storied film careers in the same vein as Harrison Ford. And so I put her in that same boat. And if I'm her or if I'm her agent, I'm like, why don't we just, play nice with the Star Wars universe right now in the fandom, and, maybe in your late 30s or 40s, we can come back to this. Star Wars isn't going anywhere. Your character's not going to go anywhere. They're not going to kill you off without you on screen. So the opportunity will be there. Come back to the well when you're ready.
I will say that's a good point. If Chaos Walking does well, and I think it's one of those, it's either doing a simultaneous streaming and theater release, I'm not sure, or maybe it's straight to streaming. But if you look at the trailer for that, it's hard to tell at first that she's even Daisy Ridley. And part of it is the blonde hair. Part of it is just the disheveled look that she has. And it's based on a popular young adult trilogy of books. I think that may go a long way toward maybe preventing her from being typecast. I hope. I mean, if it stands out at least. There was Murder on the Orient Express, but it was also, it wasn't that, it didn't feel that different from what we saw of her already. Yeah. So.
Well, on that note, I'm going to duck out of here.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. Thanks
Tom,
for watching.
good having you here.
Thank you, Tom.
See you guys soon.
Yep. Have a good night.
Later, Tom.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of see what Tom was saying there, but also at the same time, I think I don't associate her that much with Star Wars. It sounds kind of funny because she was a star of 3 movies, but maybe it's because the movies didn't resonate with me all that well as far as being affectionate in my mind for Star Wars. But I think she can do other stuff and not be hampered by the role that she had, or be typecast as Rey. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a legitimate concern. But also, I mean, there's a couple things, and kind of some of this Harrison Ford, there's been a little bit of a continuation of the Harrison Ford discussion here in the chat. And Joe brought up that Harrison had the advantage of Indiana Jones, and with Indiana Jones, with the first 2 movies releasing really in that similar time frame as the original trilogy of Star Wars did, he wasn't typecast, because even though fundamentally the mechanics of the character were exactly the same.
Yeah. And frankly, the acting was the same too.
Yeah. He was seen as these 2 different characters, so he wasn't immediately pigeonholed. And so I think that allowed him to just continue branching out. And he's obviously had an absolutely incredible career playing all sorts of things. And of course, easier said than done. We can't just say, oh, well, Daisy, you just have to, get yourself into another big franchise. Sure.
Right.
Just get yourself a whip and a fedora and,
Yeah.
All right.
If only it were that easy. That said, I mean, to one extent, people are stupid to not follow the money. But then I also understand that sometimes there's certain things that you don't want to get into. I mean, hey, I have one former client who I absolutely loved the work that I did for that client. Mm-hmm. The contract manager was an absolutely horrible, terrible person to work for. And I would never go back to working for them again because of that. Once I hear that that person has moved on or retired, then I'll go work for them again. And, they paid moderately well, but it's kind of in that vein of, while I say, oh, hey, the money's there. But on the other hand, if there's something that really compels you to not want to do it, there's certainly a lot of legitimate reasons. So, but yeah. I'd love to see her come back. I think there's a lot of really good Rey stories.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there could be, going forward, where is she going to go from where we left off with the Rise of Skywalker is a very fascinating concept. But the problem is, you talk about how it doesn't have to be the Skywalker saga, but, the movie was called The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just picking there again, but I would like to see what she does with training going forward, or starting the Jedi up again, or whatever we're going to have her do. I think it'd be fantastic. But it kind of leads us right into our last topic that you put in here, Tim, of should we have an episode 10? Do you try to do something to wrap up and fix the bad taste in our mouth from the last 3 movies, or is it needed, or do we just cut ties and move on?
I'm going to say no. So a couple of things here. Number one, regarding storytelling, you take any story, think of nonfiction. You take anyone's life, okay? And there are some people throughout history where you've got a story. And by a story, I mean a beginning, a middle, a journey, and the end, which is typically the resolution of that journey, whether it's that person's death or not. And that story is self-contained, but the Earth still kept going. It's 2021 now. So with Star Wars, it's the same thing. You think with Return of the Jedi, that was the end. Like the Emperor is destroyed. The Empire is destroyed as well. The good guys win. Peace and justice throughout the galaxy, blah, blah, blah. Except, we know that's not the case. Whether you look at Legends, whether you look at the new canon, doesn't matter. The world, or in this case, the galaxy, continues moving. So there are new stories to tell. I am all about continuing to get those new stories. I don't think that we have to stop everything right there. And I think that this is something that's common throughout either science fiction or fantasy, anywhere where you're doing world building outside of the real world. When you do a good enough job of world building, people want more stories in that world. And I mean world in a lowercase setting, right? The world can be a planet, it can be a galaxy, it can be a universe, whatever. People want more stories in that world. And so I am all for getting more stories, whether it's about Rey or whether it's about what happens after Rey. Now, specifically for episode 10, I don't want it to be a sequel to episode 9. I want it to be the beginning of its own trilogy. I want to leave 7, 8, and 9 behind and not have it just follow up with where we left off with 9. I'd like a little bit of time to pass, but I think there's a danger in trying to go and clean up 7, 8, 9. Leave them alone. The more you try to clean that up, the more you're just going to muddy things up. Just start clean. Now, when I say clean, you can bring those characters back. That's fine. Don't try to undo anything. Just say, that could have been better, but we're going to keep moving forward. Move forward using Rey, using Finn, Rose, Poe, whatever you want to use or not use. But don't try to go back and somehow retcon or fix 7, 8, and 9. They are what they are. They're broken, but they're also in some ways enjoyable, some more than others, and some parts very enjoyable, and some parts very bad. Like, it is what it is. It's like you always said, Lou, it's not the Star Wars we wanted. It's the Star Wars we got. And frankly, it's not worth throwing away. There's good stuff in there. Enjoy it. But let's not try to fix it, because then it's just, I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but it's like you're just muddying the water over and over and over again. Like when you're painting, you mix paints. You can only mix so many before the whole thing just turns brown.
I was just thinking the same thing when you're mentioning that. I'm like, it's like working with either, compound for doing a wall or doing cement, where the more you touch it, the worse it's going to get. Just at some point, leave it alone, let it dry, let it solidify, come back and fix it later. At much later when it's fully cured and ready to go, type thing.
Or in this case, just don't fix it at all. Maybe
don't touch it at all.
But
right?
If you are, later, like later.
I'll bring Tim in a second, but I agree with you, Eric. I don't think we should continue that same story. I mean, maybe we don't even need to have an episode 10. Maybe you call it something different. I mean, episode 10 is going to make people think we're continuing that story on.
Yeah.
Have a brand new trilogy.
Well, let's just say the continuation of that timeline or that, call it whatever you want, but maybe not calling it 10.
From the timeline too. Go somewhere and do something totally different. I mean, we'll talk about this in Random Chatter later tonight, but I just finished season 3 of Discovery. And I think you were the one who brought this up, Eric, before. It was a very brave decision they made to do what they did in that show. Do something like that here. Go somewhere that we weren't expecting at all.
But would you be interested? Let me rephrase it, because I know we'll all watch it anyway. But if we also do that, do you still also want to have something that continues this storyline? Like, kind of like, where does Rey end up? Or even if it's not about Rey herself, who does that torch get passed on to? Like, because I am okay with that. Like, I'm not craving it. But I am okay with either a continuation of what happens to Rey 10 years down the road or 20 years or whatever, or whoever she passes the torch to. I'm okay with following that torch. And I know some people want to avoid it, but what yes or no, Lou?
I mean, I say no. Personally, I think that if you're going to get away, leave it alone, like we said, and get away from it, get away from it entirely. Don't even go to the same time frame. Do something totally different. Go somewhere else in the galaxy physically, or a different time frame, because the temptation will be there. If you're in that same vicinity, both time-wise or location-wise, you're going to want to retouch those characters. Go somewhere else, do something different.
Okay.
Tim, you've been very quiet.
I'm kind of the same opinion that you guys basically got to in this, that I don't want to see something necessarily called episode 10, even if it were to be a continuation of Rey's story. I think the whole episode 1 through 9 thing, those numbered episodes, that is the Skywalker saga. Leave it at that. If you want to do a continuation of Rey's story, you're naming it something different. I don't think it needs to be an episode 10 type of situation. They're creating other movies, other trilogies, that kind of stuff, which are offshoots. They're branches off the Skywalker tree trunk, if you will. And I think that something like that could be the same thing. I also agree they shouldn't be trying to creatively fix things in the sequel trilogy. It is what it is. Just let it be what it is. Because there are people who enjoyed it, and you're just going to tick off people by meddling with it. And for the people who didn't like it, they're going to try to fix something, and the people who didn't like it are either not going to be satisfied that it was fixed, or they are, or it's just going to kind of continue this crap in the fandom, that it just, that just simply continues. It's just like politics. Right. We see people on one far side, and we see people on an opposite far side, and it just doesn't do anyone any good. I don't think they should do that. So I'm not a fan of this whole of an episode 10 concept. Just tell stories, give movies. They don't need to be numbered.
Well, give them names. And that's the thing. I think there are two different questions here. Number one is, do we call it episode 10? Do we do it 10, 11, and 12? And then the other one is, okay, aside from the label of what we title the film, do we want to see a continuation of the passing of that particular torch? I like the idea of seeing where that torch goes. I'm okay with that. I kind of do want to see that. I think the numbering system, Fetmatic mentioned here in the chat here too. I think that the numbering system is bad. If you're going to do a trilogy and you need to point out this is parts 1, 2, and 3, that's okay. But sure. I think beyond that, it got too muddy. They did 4, 5, and 6, so they were kind of obligated to do 1, 2, and 3. But in my opinion, 7, 8, and 9 should not have been 7, 8, and 9, and they should not have been, quote, the Skywalker saga. It should have been episodes 1 through 6 of the Skywalker saga, and then The Force Awakens Part 1, The Force Awakens Part 2, and The Force Awakens Part 3, or whatever they wanted to call that storyline. But that was its own.
Sure.
And I think that the other thing, too, is that would have mitigated a lot of the, we'll call it damage within the fan community, because I think it would have gotten people out of the thinking that it had to be about Skywalkers, that it had, like, the fact that Rey was not related to Luke in any way pissed a lot of people off because it's the Skywalker saga. Well, then just don't call it that, and then the story works. If they had just taken that trilogy and labeled it something else, words matter, names matter.
Right.
JMS from Babylon 5 always said, you know, a name is a very, very powerful thing. And this is one of those examples. If they had named it something other than episodes 7, 8, and 9 and called it episodes 1, 2, and 3 of a different story arc, I think there's a lot of the screaming online that would have been very, very different.
Yeah, partially. But I think that some of that was just because it was not what it was called, but also because we were told they had the treatments that Lucas had done, and it was going to be a continuation of that and using his storylines. And at some point, we found out that, no, we threw all that stuff out. So that pissed a lot of people off to begin with right there, no matter what we did with this.
There would have still been people pissed off. And I can't say, listen, I didn't see the Lucas treatments. From what I heard about it, I wasn't a big fan of those either, so I can't say it was a bad thing to throw them away. Yeah, there still would have been controversy, but there would have been a radically different expectation. So on a scale of 1 to 10, instead of being at a 9, we would have maybe been at like a 6.5 for controversy. It still would have been there and it still would have been significant, but it would not have been this catastrophic, cataclysmic, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%.
Labels mean something, and I do want to see them get away from numbering. Numbering is bad unless you have to identify parts 1 and 2 and 3 of a storyline, story arc, I should say. But there were 3 independent story arcs across the saga. If he hadn't already done 4, 5, and 6, we wouldn't have been in this numbering debacle anyway. Like if he hadn't labeled them that from 1977, you know?
Right, when you first started out, and this was the middle middle part of the story, and yeah.
So anyway, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so here we are 45 minutes later, and
47 minutes into our one news story.
Still no other news.
Yeah. So. Oh, well, it's actually something in the show notes here, and let me go back to give credit to who pointed it out to us, Tom Nelson. Not Star Wars necessarily, but the Golden Globes are going on right now, and apparently John Boyega won a Golden Globe for his role in Small Axe, which I've not seen. But I want to celebrate that. I think that, you know, actors and actresses from Star Wars who succeed in other things, we want that too. Right. And I like John Boyega. So, you know, congratulations, John. That's exciting. And we're excited for you. That's awesome. As much as I don't get into awards, I'm always glad when I see a Star Wars participant win something.
Agreed.
Very good. You know, I have one more little thing I'll bring up here, kind of just personal note, kind of along the same lines with the whole Hasbro stuff. I know I can't get any Hasbro stuff. I had ordered some stuff from the Star Wars Celebration store last fall when they, you know, offered that stuff up, and I'm still waiting for my stuff. You know, they were pre-orders, I guess.
If it makes you feel any better, not Star Wars related. But, yeah. I participated in my first Kickstarter purchase.
No.
And cool. It just arrived, I think, day before yesterday.
Okay.
I bought it. It was either late May or early June of last year.
Wow.
don't think I'm going to do that again. But I feel your pain, Lou, when you order something and it's still coming. It's still coming. No, it's not.
And I've emailed them a couple times. They get back to you and they let you know, we're still working on things. But it's like, you could probably save yourself a lot of emails from people because all over Facebook.
Are they sending updates though?
Saying, no, nothing.
Oh, no. See, I got to say that the Kickstarter thing that I was getting like bi-weekly updates through email, and then finally the last few months it's been like maybe one update a month, but it was very specific and information on how to get a refund if you don't want to wait any longer and et cetera. But I would think that ReedPop would be updating you guys on what's going on because
nothing. I mean,
this is their reputation on the line too.
Informative. It said, hey, one of the things on your order is coming from Europe and they're impacted by COVID. And I'm like, okay, great, that's fine. I'm glad you told me. But it would be nice to, I ordered this back in November.
Yeah,
haven't heard anything since then. I mean, at all. All you told me originally was 48 weeks. 4 to 8, not 48.
48 weeks. That's a long way.
Just saying.
I mean, I have some sympathy for them. It's, the COVID thing makes everything rough, but
understand. But the communication.
ReedPop has a brand to protect too. And listen, I've enjoyed the Star Wars Celebration conventions I've been at. There have been hiccups, but I appreciate the work ReedPop's done. And I'm not just saying that in hopes that we can still get media passes for future events, because full disclosure, we've gotten them for Celebration in the past. I hope to in the future, but if we don't, we're still going to go, but yeah, it's frustrating. And when you don't get communication about it, that makes it even more frustrating. So, but I mean, at least they're responsive to the emails, because I know of some places that haven't been, in light of similar situations. So, it's rough. It sucks being a consumer right now.
Yeah. Yeah, everything is impacted.
Yeah.
Shipping, inventory-wise, stock-wise, raw material-wise. Yeah, I mean, I got email from one of our vendors that the price of steel is going up by 9%, and that's going to impact a lot of things.
9%?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
9%.
That's actually a lot. Yeah.
It is.
That's significant. Yeah.
So, but anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up, that if anybody's waiting for stuff from the Celebration store, it is coming. I mean, they are pretty responsive when I email them, but everybody's in the same boat. I think we're all waiting for our stuff. So,
but email them if you have questions.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, that does bring us to the end of the episode. I don't know if we have anything else to plug here on the way out. I don't think we do.
Just the Force Chatter sheet.
Thanks for
that, like what you're wearing right there, Lou. Hold that up. Your Force Chatter.
Yeah.
Shirt. I got to get me one of those still.
Force Chatter shirt. It's a great logo. It looks better than the one I did for the one I touched up for Echo Base, because the around the text is see-through. So that was a good move. So whatever shirt you have, shows through that.
Thanks again to Tech for he's in the chat room right now for
did a great job
for us.
Yeah. And I spent way too much money.
And we got him a little something as a result, and it's on the way. The Canadian shipping and all that. It's already been processed. If you haven't gotten it yet, it's on its way.
The sled dogs are running a little tough. Yeah.
see previous comment about ReedPop in November to February shipping, blah blah blah. But it's yeah.
There you go.
It certainly should have arrived by now.
Yeah. Do you know much about the Canadian postal system, Tim? Because if not, we'll talk.
Oh, we've shipped some stuff to Canada, and it's not taken this long.
My grandfather from Ontario used to say that back when the stamp was, 35 cents or something like that, it was 1 cent for shipping and 34 cents for storage.
Tech said that he got it. It arrived last week.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great.
Still a long time.
I hope it fit and that you like it. So. All right. Well, I guess that's going to do it for this episode. If you want to get one of those shirts or shirts with any of the other logos from the Random Chatter Network, going to give you a little tip. If you go to randomchatter.com in your web browser and then you put a / there's a lot of other things you can get to. If you put /store, you can get to the store. You can get t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies with various different logos, including the Force Chatter logo. If you put in /Discord, you can get into our Discord community, which I highly recommend you do, by the way. If you type in /Patreon, you can help support the network, and we really appreciate that. We have bonus content. We have watch-togethers for Mandalorian and WandaVision. And anybody who donates anything through Patreon, you become a member of the Random Chatter Network, because we're a nonprofit organization, and even just $1 a month, we have created additional channels in the Discord server for people to have more topical conversations and stuff, and you get access to all of that. So if you donate through Patreon and you don't have access to a Discord, let one of us know and we will get it to you immediately and unlock that for you. What else? Oh, /YouTube. Of course, if you're not watching this on YouTube right now, then hopefully it's because you're driving, and we don't want you watching it on YouTube if you're driving. Though if you subscribe to YouTube, you can listen to it in your car with the video off, because it's not legal to have the video on in your car while you're driving, but the audio is if the phone display is off. So you can do that. randomchatter.com/YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and the like button and maybe that little notification button so you know when we're going live. And we would love to see you here in chat if you want to watch us live too. 8 p.m. Eastern, Sunday nights. That's GMT -5. We also do movie chatter. We were alternating, but it's going to be every Tuesday night from now on at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to check that out. I'm not going to tell you what we're covering this week because Lou and I have to argue about it because I saw something in the show notes that I think is wrong. So in Random Chatter here in a few minutes, we're going to... Yeah, no. Or were you just working ahead?
I'm working ahead. Okay. No, I'm good for that. Yeah, because we're doing that. And I
got a beef about that movie now because of a TV show that spoiled it for me. We're going to get to that later too. Post, so if you're live in the chat room right now, stick around for like maybe, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes. I think Lou's got to duck out for a second. He'll be right back. So stick around. Yep. We will be right back. And otherwise, we will see you again next episode of Force Chatter.